Hi, welcome to the MCOM Direct Messaging Zoom meeting, first one here in 2025. Uh, Normally we would kind of have a little bit of a spiel as far as how we got to where we're at and things like that, but we're not going to because I did that in a video a few days ago. So if you haven't seen the video, you have to watch that so you get all caught up. What we'd really like to do on this one, after just any introductory remarks from the other steering committee members, which, by the way, I'm Rory Griffin, W4JG in South Boston, Virginia, is it's going to be more meeting of you guys, your thoughts, and your interaction with us and with each other. I mean, if you guys get this whole little thing going between yourselves, that'll be fine too. This is not a directed from the dais kind of a thing. It's the dais that will be listening as much as everybody else. So I have nothing to say other than that because I already said it in the video. David, if you would like to say anything, then go ahead. There we go. You can unmute yourself. Go
There
ahead.
we go. Hey, everybody, I'm David, ND1J, and welcome to everybody. We're looking forward to getting your input. All I have, I think everybody knows who I am, the guy that does all the training development for EDM and all the exercises. So I really don't have much to say right now. Still analyzing, crunching the stuff from the exercise last month. I guess I would mention that it went pretty well for its first time with something that we had never used before, FARAC relay, and had never done peer-to-peer relay. And it had some growing pains, but it was pretty successful. And I think that we can probably use that same exercise with some slight modifications at least a couple more times over the next few months. So that's about all I have, Roy.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And with that, a quick follow-up. Thank you all who participated in that. It was different than we've done before, and each of the two nights had something different about it. What we really were super thrilled with was the lack of negative interaction and comments, showing the ability that the growth that we've done as the steering committee presenting exercises to you, and then how you guys have grown in doing the exercises, that whatever the issues were, they were just issues, and it allowed everything to go even better than ever before. So we were thrilled with all the activity that occurred, and some of the activities that has occurred in the past that did. uh Andy, anything that you'd like to add before we opening up the mics?
Yes, briefly. I'm Andy, KD2LQA out in South Carolina. First, I'd like to thank all you fellows for hanging in with us as long as you did. I think we've made a lot of progress in the last year and a half. The committee is pleased with where we have come to, and the last exercise, the two different nights, the VARAC the one night and the peer-to-peer on WinLink the other night, proved that we have the ability to set up a network and do relays across the country. And I think we're at a point where we need to actually take those two same basic drills and just keep practicing with them for a period of time. But part of what we're looking for tonight is your input as to what you think you need to do. You got to tell us what you think you would like to do, and how often, if you do want to have practice sessions, how often you'd like to have them. Everything's on the table. We'd like to see your input and see what's on your mind. And because if we don't keep you guys happy, we're not going to have nothing. So we need to work with you. So that's all I got. Thanks again for hanging in and being true to the cause, so to speak. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rory.
Excellent. Thank you, Andy. We do have another steering committee member, Gary K7WZX, and he's our silent partner, not just because he loves the end of the alphabet for his call sign. He's just a silent partner outside the steering committee, but he does do a lot within the steering committee. He's very active and does a bunch of other things. He's just not one of the people who like to actually get in front of other folks. But like a lot of other ham radio operators, has no bearing whatsoever on the capabilities, and he's got quite a few that really helps us out. I did have one other little last part after giving Gary his intro for him, and I can't quite remember what it was now. So it couldn't have been that important. So with that, oh, by the way, we pretty much have the entire team of regular operators. We do have close to 100 registered users, but we have close to 50 regular users, and we pretty much have all of you guys here, which is absolutely stupendous. And we thank you for your time that you're spending here. For those on the East Coast, for waiting until 9 o'clock for it, and we thank those, especially all the way over on the West Coast, to hurry up and get on here right after the 9 to 5 work time slot, if that's your life. All right, so with that, we're going to open it up. Let me make sure I got the switch set. Yeah, you can all unmute yourselves, but to control it, so you all don't come crashing in at once, we would like to do the raise your hand scenario. And if you don't know where that is, go to the bottom kind of center on your Zoom screen, and there's a little icon that's kind of like Spock, but not quite, and you can raise your hand. First one up, Mike, KC0, Tango Alpha Fox. Go ahead.
Yeah, one thing I want to say to this team, thank you very much for all the work that you guys put into these exercises is greatly appreciated. The time you take and do into the research and providing instructions to us. At times we get confused by reading them, but as we all do. And there's always the updates, which thank you again for making sure that you date and time the updates so we know which one we're supposed to be on to keep the organization. So I just wanted to say thank you for all the effort you've put in, and especially for everybody also here that has helped participate, because without all of us together doing this, it just wouldn't be possible.
Thank you very much, Mike. We very much appreciate that. I don't see another hand up. Come on. I know we don't always like to step out, but this is your time to step out.
This is
Anything.
Randy KA0AZS, and I don't have that icon on my desktop, so on my software, so I'm not seeing the hand I put up.
Okay, permission granted. Go ahead.
Okay, and thank you, Net Control. I've been pretty impressed with the drills putting together, especially I like the experimenting, going out, looking at new stuff like the VAR EC, and seeing how we can incorporate that all in there. I've got a couple of other friends in various places. One's in Hawaii, so he can't really regularly make these nets, but he was really interested to see what we experimented with and came up for VAR EC, see if he could take some of that back to Hawaii, where he's regular on the Wind Lake nets there. My only concern with the VAR EC is since they don't support the standard ICS forms, that could become kind of a kludge to trying to pass information through them, as opposed to WinLink, which has the forms built in. And of course, you don't actually pass the form format, you just pass the data and it fills the format on the other end. And I know my local EMA director is real big. He doesn't, I mean, now it's she, doesn't really want to see anything but a standard form. And ICS 213 are one of the standard forms. So, radiograms are just right out. Not the old one looked at that and says, "What the heck? I don't have time for this nonsense. Give me something I can read." So, but yeah, good job everybody, and that's my basic input is just being careful, getting too far off from the ICS forms on how we pass those. I think the VAR AC is great for figuring out who's out there though, and who you can connect to.
You're absolutely right, Randy. So let me just do two quick little reminders. One, the basis of what we're teaching for you to take and modify it as you need for your local use, because EDM is not a deployed group, but the way we've designed it is when all else fails, and as I put in some of the earlier training modules early last year, is I've lived through it twice now completely, where all else failed. The VAR AC is defined, and once you're found, then you can do P2P, because you can't do both of them at the same time because of our modems will interfere with each other, being both P2P. So the point is VAR AC is you can do some information back and forth, but the ICS forms is really only going to be once you get some established direction, if you will, for the lack of a better word, depending upon how the organization is going to fit to whatever is happening in that event. So the VRC isn't really designed for ICS forums, but rather contacting each other. Then you're flipping over to WinLink P2P, assuming you're still in that emergency, no power, all else is still failing, to use into P2P, and that's where the forms are. We're not trying to supplant the absolute strengths of WinLink and realize the weaknesses in VAR-AC from that perspective is not something we're like looking to overcome at all. Even if it's, hey, listen, I have an ICS form to send you. I need you now. Confirm when you can. And we've never done this before. This is coming off the top of my head. You can tell another station, come down off RAC, and we'll both go over to WinLink P2P, makes a connection. When that's done, then come back to VAR-AC, and you can do all that free, open-ended communication if that's the need that you need to do, even at that point. Let's say you have to take your 217, and you've got to come up with a 205. And so you need to get it out there, but you still don't have a robust system that you normally would. Well, there you go. You can do even something like that. You can flip back and forth according to what the need is because you're already in communication on P2P. So whichever VAR way that you're getting there, it's a done deal. So an extra little thought for something. And I know David's going to be writing down a little note to maybe do that sometime in a future exercise.
Yeah.
And the other part is, I'm sorry, hold on 1 second. When we had Rad on, he mentioned things like that. And you can create ICS-like forms. They don't necessarily need the formality of the great presentation that the WinLink development team put together, which we very much appreciate. But you can kind of create something similar in a text form just by old memo style, to, from, and you can just line, bullet item each item that would be on the simpler forms. And that would also upheld because it's the information, not the actual format. Okay?
Okay, yeah, it sounds like we're on the same along the same line. So thank you.
If I
Okay.
could add a couple things here.
Please.
First of all, VARAC does have a couple of the ICS forms available in it now, but not very many. I expect that they may be putting some more in. But on the WinLink side, they've also built some capability into WinLink recently so that if you send a WinLink form, a message with a WinLink form to an email address, it doesn't include the actual HTML form. So it's about a third of the size of the total form when it has that in it. So if they continue to do that with forms, I think that what Rory was suggesting there is going to work out real well. I just want to mention that the other possibility there, Randy, is that you kind of try to push a little bit as hard as you can, of course, with your local agencies. But in Georgia, where I am, Georgia Aries and Georgia Oxcom have both come around to the point where they realize that peer-to-peer is somewhat limited because you only have 1 or 2 stations on versus people using 1,000 different RMS stations, and we're getting them to realize that they just don't have to have forms. You can get very good tactical MCOM messages through without using the forms. And really, Helene is the event that caused that. After Helene came through and everything was wiped out, half the state of Georgia was without internet and without power. They realized that P2P is a tremendous tool, and you have to sometimes live without those forms. That's it, Roy.
And one last part for everybody, don't forget what we're prescribing for everybody with the methods that we're presenting to you and to engage in the drills and the exercises is when things aren't working. Once they get back to normal, get out of the EDM mode because it's extremely limited. So you're not looking to do the kind of things you would do beforehand. If you those who know the PACE environment, primary, alternate, contingency, emergency, we're teaching you contingency, emergency kind of stuff. That you've got none of your normal strengths that you have available. So keep that in mind. And hopefully it won't last as long as what happened with Helene across multiple states. I mean, we all know what happened in North Carolina because whole towns got literally washed out. But as David brought up, the half of Georgia was severely impacted on the communications level. For those who know about ESF2, the ESF2 was a major concern everywhere where Helene ran. Then depending upon geography as to how much the water damage occurring. But the ESF2 communications was disastrous. But everything we do is not to have the whole formal thing ready unless it's an ongoing thing. I've lived through 10 days in New Jersey where it stayed that way for 10 days because of what had happened. And with my event that happened in New York City, that it didn't last for 10 days, but things had to be cobbled together and there were so many systems affected depending upon who needed what. So what we teach is for when it's not needed, how to get it going. But to Randy's question, hopefully you wouldn't have to really think it out too hard because you'll get your regular systems, RMS capability, let's say, up and running pretty quickly. Hand up. Let's see. We have Pat, Alpha, Juliet 6, Mike, Juliet. Am I right?
That's correct. What I wanted to suggest, you were looking for new ideas. I know the last exercise we did, the virus C, every relay station had a different frequency. They're trying to avoid interference. I think a lot can also be, I'd like to try the auto QSL and do something with the auto QSL to see if that's another way to avoiding interference while sharing a common frequency, because it's going to be easier to find people if everybody's on a common frequency per band.
I have to be honest. It could be my speakers. I didn't understand everything you said. Just give me a second because I've got a transcription going.
I've got it. Right.
Okay, go with it.
So, yeah, what Pat's suggesting is that we try to use the auto QSY feature in BARAC so that all this, in this last case, all of the stations would be on the same frequency, and then they would QSY to side frequencies in order to pass the traffic. And we have looked at it. We've even talked a little bit about it. There's an awful lot to it, but yeah, we have it on our list to consider. This last time went pretty smooth with everybody on a separate frequency because there was only, the only people on there were calling that one station. And if you recall the exercise before that, everybody was on the same frequency and it was chaos. So, I don't know, we're looking at it. No promises, but it's a big training issue too.
So with that, thank you, David. That keep in mind there are two things that we're doing. We're doing the exercises within EDM, which is across the entire nation. Actually, two. There are some Canadian folks. But what we want you to do is take the practices principles and then apply it to your local situation. So when you're designing your 217 for your when all else fails situation that you're writing, keep that in mind when you're writing up the EOP addendum and your 217 for that same situation to make sure it doesn't happen. That you may want actually, let's say, all your leaders on one frequency and all your non-leaders on another frequency. And you want that built in, and the leaders only after they get together and get their situational awareness, that then they go down to where everybody else is. So you're not trying to all get it done at once. You got to do a plug and play with the kind of things that you want. So your point is valid directly for EDM, but I also want everybody to keep in mind when you're designing for yourself locally for the when all else fails, that you have to consider frequency interference for whatever it is appropriate, band, conditions, whatever. Okay, done. Next hand is going to be Mike. Oh, gee, Mike. Now you want to say something? You want to thank us again? Case
No.
yeah.
No, actually, so I've been thinking about the Vera AC quite a bit. The Vera AC is kind of like APRS. You set up an APRS, you send out a beacon, and you can see who you can talk to within that region. I look at it from the standpoint is Vera AC gives us if we have to go to HF, where most of my exercises that I run here, even at the state level, a lot of them are local, so they're VHF, so they use voice to say I have traffic to transmit, and here's the station that I will be transmitting to. Are you ready? And going that route. But Vera AC, if you're looking at from the HF, who can you talk to? Who has internet capability through just a broadcast? Seeing what the availability is of a station that can do a P2P and be able to pass or do a or even just doing RMS to them if you need to. But at the same point, you see if they have the availability to pass that traffic.
Yep.
It's also looking at it from a standpoint is anytime an exercise or anytime an emergency starts, you got to stand up something that everybody can say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Just as you said, Rory, is just here's the frequencies we're going to operate on. Here's where we're going to push P2P traffic to. Here are all the participants. All that information can be gathered through Vera AC immediately and have the situational awareness of the communications.
Now, I'm going to add one little extra thing without any detail. So if you know about it, great. If you don't, wait, it will be coming around. An RMS station can go into a post office mode, which I do a lot of things on Wave Talkers, and no one knew about that feature. So if somebody from New England just gave me a call a week ago who listened to my presentation at the New England Ham Exposition, where we were invited to go to specifically just to talk about EDM. And he watched that, and in that, he was asking things that didn't really relate to EDM, but I was able to extrapolate off of what we do into what his questions were. And one of them was post office. And basically, what it is, you can have an RMS station to not be internet connected, but operate as a standalone complete WinLink system. And it will hold all the messages, and Station A sends a message, deposit it there. Station B comes in, pulls that message off that was sent to them, and it can all be free flowing. But that's, I won't say harder to do, but it's something I'll have presented as an idea to talk about in New England. And if I do it there, I will be recording all the recordings. I'm able to take what I do and bring it out. Then we'll also talk about how that could work as how to get out of the emergency mode only into at least a contingency where stations who can hit that RMS post office. So there are other tools that have become available, also keeping with no internet, no anything else. And then once the internet becomes available, everybody starts high flying again. Michael, anything else? I'm sorry, you still have your hand up.
No, I just wanted to say that is a good point, and I've looked at the post office. There seems to be a little quirks about it. The fact that you have to have an RMS actually assigned is what I'm running into. So it's kind of like we need to look into this a little bit more because I'm missing something because it shouldn't be that difficult to just be a receiving post office.
I'm running a very vibrant ALE station here that includes a post office, and because I was taught by good people. If you want, you can contact me offline, even tonight if it's you want to, because it'll be 10 o'clock or so my time, and that'll be fine. But I can explain it maybe a little more detail that could be helpful for you or anybody else.
I look forward to that.
Great. Pat, SoCal, you have your hand up, or do you?
Not anymore.
Oh, okay. I see no other hands up. Okay, guys, ideas. Now, I didn't say this in the beginning. I wanted to.
Rory, we got Art B has his hand up, and David Becker had his hand up.
They're supposed to be jumping to the top of my screen. My apologies, gentlemen. I didn't see any notification. So let me finish up what I'm about to say, and then we'll go to Art and then the next person. Thank you, David. we're willing to take an off the wall idea. And you know it's an off the wall idea, but it's an idea that you got in your head. Bring it forth anyway, because we may find a place for it on the wall, because it'll spark an idea to somebody else. Some of the things that I've been doing the past 2 years, because somebody makes one little statement, and boom, I've got a whole structure all in my head about what I can do with it. So whatever the idea might be that you think might be relevant for what EDM is about, please bring it forth. Art, do you have such an idea?
I don't have that idea. What I have to say, first and foremost, thank you guys. You guys have done what a wonderful job. The teaching end or the learning end is definitely a learning curve to me. Dave, like he helped me out tonight. I didn't have a hand to raise, so I actually raised my hand and had to turn my camera on, and he got that. So Dave bailed me out with my programming that I had problems with. It just that's one of those things you go through an update and you're out there nowhere. But I love the program. I still need to do some learning with the email and all. So as you said, maybe repeating the last exercise down road a couple of times would probably be an excellent idea. It would be able to get some of us slow learners hopefully to be able to catch up.
Great. That's what we're looking for. Not speed, but desire to keep on learning, and that excites us to keep coming back. Dave, you said you had somebody else you saw with a hand up, or is that Ron who now has his hand up? Oh, I see.
David Becker.
Go ahead.
David Becker.
Yep.
Yes, hi. Okay. I can't find a hand icon either, so I had to actually wave my hand. One thing I'd like to comment on is that one thing that is different about the way EDM is doing the exercises and the training modules is very impressive to me, is that we're building past just basic skills. You know, we're getting to the point now where I think, you know, virtually everybody has or should have the basic skills, how to do specific tasks, how to operate specific pieces of software. But the exercise, the last ones we've done, have been this way, and I'd really like to see more of them at the complex level, in which there's a mission to accomplish, not just a task to demonstrate your skill at. And, you know, that's going to be very valuable as the way we get into real world situations. You have to figure out what will work, what you got that you can use, what's not going to work, and adapt to that, particularly as problems come up and uncertainties come up. You know, that's makes them very exciting exercises to do, very rewarding to figure out problems and resolve them, to learn and grab a hold of information you don't have at the moment and find a solution and keep going. You know, that's the level of the exercises that I really enjoy, that I think you've done a tremendous job at, and I really urge we do a lot more, you know, in the future with that.
Well, we thank you, and yes, first it comes from Len, W0LEN, the man who started this whole thing, and what he impressed upon us continually. And if we did any variants, he would then impress upon us again. And then absolute kudos. While the steering committee will bounce around the ideas, but it is David who's been extremely diligent on making sure the modules were paced out by creating first the foundational series and then start building up. But yes, it's been a very thoughtful process just for what you were talking about. So it's all laid out for anybody new, anybody in your teams, of course, can go and look at these exercises, let them learn from it without having to be part of EDM, but make sure that they learn what it is that you're trying to introduce into your local area. Next is Jim. Wait a second, is there any hand raising? Somebody who doesn't know how to find the... Oh, if you want to find that your hand, it may not be seen, but if you bring the cursor to the bottom of the screen, you may have a toolbar that suddenly shows up. I've been able to keep mine on, but I know sometimes I'm on other Zoom sessions and I actually have to dip it so I can see all those things at the bottom.
It's under React, the little heart too, for
Yeah.
some of us.
Yeah, I see it.
Ah, I don't know why, but I have it as separate. But okay,
The
thank you.
host.
That's true. So the host doesn't always have exactly what you have. So for those of you who are looking, the little React, which actually has a heart, which really isn't good for us. Hi, I love you. That it's in it's in there, so you can just hit that little up arrow and find what you want. Thank you. All right, Jim.
That super helped out.
Yes, it does. Jim, Kilo Victor 4. I have everybody in a gallery view, so all your call signs are really tiny on a screen 4 feet away from me. So Jim, go ahead. KV4 something Mike.
AV4JM. Yeah, and I'll just reiterate quickly. Thank you guys for all you've done. Everybody on the team, steering committee, and all the participants. Been tremendous learning experience. I'd love to see more of it. And question and also comment. As far as continuing these exercises, one of the things issue that I've experienced is anybody have specific ideas on how to motivate other people within our local groups to try to experiment more with some of this stuff or possibly adopt some of this. I'm not in a leadership role within local areas, but just trying to get people involved is kind of like pushing a rope. It's been a little difficult getting people. They've expressed interest, but actually trying to get something going is a little more difficult. If anybody has any ideas or success stories, I'd love to hear tactics and techniques that you might have used. The other thing that I've always considered with this, and also before I forget, absolute pleasure being able to see faces to the names and calls that I've talked to and communicated with. That's a real pleasure tonight. But also, I always think about when it hits the fan, when all else fails, and issues locally. One of the things I like with this is I've gotten to a point where, yeah, there are calls, there's individuals out here. I know I can hit them with very good success rate. And I look at a lot of this, even though we're not an official organization in that sense, I see it as a group that can potentially activate, self-activate, and help out beyond our local areas groups, even if it's a limited involvement, something of that nature. People that we can reach out to that our area hurricane hits. It's nice knowing that there's people out there that I can hit with my radio, and if need be. But again, my big question is: anybody have any great ideas on getting some of the inertia removed? And with that, thanks again.
Okay. One for just to clarify, it's a very official position. EDM has no plans to organize anything to support other EDM members because of the disparity of distances and everything else. However, what I'm doing as a DEC, assistant DEC here in my state, is I'm getting every EC to set up a mutual agreement with some specifics preset with every neighboring EC directly. It can cross over state lines, district lines, whatever. It's just they're your closest neighbor. You guys should have a list of contacts on either side and who has what available in case you need it. And no promises, no guarantees. It's not even a memorandum of understanding. It's just a mutual aid compact kind of a thing that if we can, we will help you, and to have the list of various contacts and what resources are available. So that would be something more, I think, of what you would be looking for, of just knowing who else is around you outside of your expected regional impact area, so you know you can get to them if possible. Uh, as far as what you can do, funny you say that. One of the things I'm going to be doing up in New England is to counter that very same thing. Because somebody brought it up at Wave Talkers, is how do I do that? I lose people. It's a leadership issue. Everything rises and falls on leadership. This is voluntary organizations. They get nothing out of it any which way unless they enjoy doing it. So you have to do things, number one, where they are enjoying doing it. The only people you have to be concerned about who aren't enjoying doing it, they're looking to worm their way in to be the leader. They're not the ones you want as a leader. The real leaders are the ones who know how to inspire and have something beyond that inspiration to back up their inspirational talks. One of the things I am planning to do in New England, if they let me, is it's an academic thing that had to do more with general education, but somebody who has applied this on multiple levels, including amateur radio, called the four Ps, is you cycle through these different four Ps, and you can do other kinds of things like it. It's not a formula. You want to make sure you're keeping in mind you're dealing with people. They have their own wants and needs. And sometimes you have to pat them on the back 600 times. Then they'll keep on coming back. Two, projects. A project is something that has a specific beginning and a specific end. Set up some projects where people know what the expectations are and they know it's not going to drag on beyond where they get tired of it. Three, passion. You have to, it's like sales. You know anything about sales, salesmen create energy with their customer to want to continue so that they spend money with you, depending upon the product, whether it's done in one deal or it could be 5 or 6 cycles. But it has to be passion that they feel off of you. So you need people who are upfront, who don't even have to be the leader, but know how to put together a particular exercise. David does this in his writing. Just by the way he writes it is, oh, I want to know the next one because obviously I'm not going to know how to do this exercise. If you have a desire to want to learn, he's got it there for you. And the last one is play. Do things that are just fun, fox hunting kind of thing. Uh, but make it where it's just fun. It's not an exercise to drill, to be prepared. Mix it and match it like what you would do with grade school kids because it still is needed because these are volunteers. There's no reason for them to come back unless you create an environment to make them want to come back. And that takes a lot of energy. And then that energy has to be put out for them to feed off of. There are different ways to do it depending upon your management style. If you have that behind you, if you read some other book about how to inspire people, if it has some tangible stuff and then some non-tangible things but still impacts people, it's not a formula. It's not an activity per se, because it always depends upon various factors, technical, regional, rural. I've done stuff, as I've mentioned in the videos, I've done stuff in Manhattan, and now where I live, where I can't throw a rock at anybody because nobody's close. It's that rural. So I've been able to deal with all of it, but I've grown the whole amateur radio community around here with a lot of my effort in 3 years because I put passion into it as well as some tangibles, and it has worked very, very well, much better than I thought it was going to do. It's not a formula, but it's thoughtful to think that they might get bored easily. What can you do to not let them get bored? That could be a great starting point in the thinking process. Anybody have comments, things that they can add to it?
Hey, that's an excellent point.
Yeah, I got a question.
Go.
So, yeah, I kind of go along with Jim's feeling. I'm just an EC up here in Connecticut, my town, and our leaders in the state, both my district and the state emergency coordinator, they've never done any of what we're doing. They've never done this direct messaging. I don't think maybe one or two maybe have done peer-to-peer and stuff like that, but they've never tried using VAR AC. So how am I going to convince like our state leadership to even try any of this? This is the problem, getting them started, getting them motivated. Unfortunately, you didn't vet us when you asked us to join your group here in EDM. I have no experience in sales or marketing, so I'm just a poor salesman. I need some real guidance on how to convince people at the
Okay.
leadership level to even get started with any of this new to them.
I give you some pointers. I had to learn sales. I grew up in IT. Me and my computer did that for 30 years. Lost my job, and because I had done a career change within the IT community, I had no solid skills to get back into a full-time job. I never did. So I joined a sales type organization just to do something totally out of the box for me. And I learned a lot because I wanted to. The passion part. One of the things has to be an analysis. First, realize your leadership is probably old school. So you're fighting strong traditions that they've never ever had to change. When I moved into my state, Aries was doing nothing. The state overall, from an ARRL perspective, was doing nothing. And that had gone on through 2 section managers to the point of 1/3 of the ECs within a month they found out were silent key, and they didn't know it. That's how bad they were in tracking what was going on. Current SM upended, changed everything, and a bunch of people stayed only because of his proactiveness. So you're fighting against people who are designed themselves to be resistant to change. And then it might show up, and I'm sorry to say this, that if they don't know something and therefore they can't speak about it, that it shows how bad they are. Good leaders don't look to know everything. They get to know how to manage and lead and inspire those underneath them. So keep in mind, some people will not want to listen to you. But to help get through that barrier, find a problem to solve. This is one idea. What is something that everybody keeps griping about? If you think P2P, and in particular EDM's 2-step program, VAR-AC WinLink P2P, is the way to go, find different ways to keep promoting it. Because eventually they start going away and other people coming in who aren't as entrenched in whatever they like to do will start saying, hey, maybe. Here's a plug. I'm an ANCS for WinLink Wednesday. Part of WinLink Wednesday, which is tomorrow, we have a number of stations that do WinLink P2P. It was designed right from the beginning by Greg Butler, who is an emergency management expert in multiple ways, not just amateur radio, but just for businesses and such. And he made sure P2P was put in there to make sure so when it is needed, it's available. And we're always fighting with the WinLink development team about P2P because they try to diminish it and we keep proving its value. So if you want people to learn about P2P, every Wednesday we have it. It's called winlinkwednesday.net. Ta-da. So you have to find a way to what is they're resistant about and understand it could be personal. They don't want to learn something because if they don't know it, somehow they feel it personally reflects upon them, and you'll never win them over. And lastly, never, 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 ever say you're only an EC. Never say that. You're a highly valued person in that position. You are the leader of the ground troops where you are at. You are the one that the local public service people will be interacting with if you have those kind of relationships, or the Salvation Army, or whoever it is that you have your agencies. You are not just an EC. You have a lot of responsibilities to perform for your uplines if they actually take in your reports, and responsibilities for everybody underneath you. You are not just an EC. There.
Rory, if I could just jump in real
Oh,
quick.
please. I am
got-
not trying to own it.
We've got Brad waiting and Gary wanted to say something, but real quick, my advice, what we did in Georgia several months ago, Russell is on here, AB4QQ, with me. We were really thought that P2P was really in severe need in Georgia, and there was some reluctance. And what we did was we went to Georgia Area's leadership, and we said we want to do some trial tests, some trial training and trial nets, just as an introduction, and just see how it goes. And they gave us the approval to do that. And then we spent about 3 or 4 months, I guess, doing some training, doing some nets, and refining them a little bit, and getting the interest built up. And once we had that interest built up, and then we went to them with a specific recommendation, there was so much interest in it that they pretty much had to say yes. There was some interest at their level, but definitely by that time they were totally interested and committed in it. And so they let us institute the net as a regular once a week net, and it started in September, and Helene came in, a few weeks after that, and wow, now they're really glad that we're doing it. So that's one way to do it. And Gary had something there from our committee.
Gary, please speak.
Well, for 7 years, I was chair of the comm group for the local Red Cross. And I ran across so many of the problems that you gentlemen have, getting people to enter the 21st century. And what I found was first of all, the Red Cross doesn't care how you get the message there, just get it there. The higher ups, they're not interested in how we do it. They just want to make sure that we do it. So what we need to do, we found, is to start small, work on a few people to try some of the newer modes and techniques, which are the things that we're trying to teach you here in EDM. And you take the best of what you learn and try introducing these principles to 1 or 2 people within your group, perfect it so that they are comfortable with it. And the next time you have a exercise, training, whatever, use it and show the other members how effective it can be, they would have to see how much better it is than their present, what they're used to doing, and also make them feel comfortable that yes, it is something that can be done. I was with Air Force Mars for 10 years, and I was a little reluctant to learn some things, but found that once I learned it, it made my life a lot better. So that's my 2 cents. I hope it helps.
To both of you, thank you very much. You covered a lot more in a lower level detail that all of us can hold on to. Thank you. Brad in Washington, KA7 Hotel something, Papa?
Yeah, KE7HFP. Hey, I just wanted to extend my thank you too for the organization. It's been a lot of fun, and I certainly enjoy it. I don't have a lot to add on the current topic. I am a volunteer with our Eastside Fire and Rescue, supporting the fire department's emergency communication. That's more of a paramilitary organization, though. I kind of just do as I'm told, very strict. But I also am an emergency communication specialist for our church, and there we have some of the same problems with leadership and endorsement and being involved. But I've followed the same advice Gary just gave, which is finding like-minded people who are also supporting emergency communication within our broader church community, and practicing and having regular communication and building up the skill set so that should we ever be needed, we're ready. and that when the conversation it comes up, we're able to share our learnings and be prepared to educate our leaders when the interest arises, and hopefully that's before the need arises. I did have a question regarding the last exercise. I participated in both the Tuesday and Thursday night drills for both Vera and the P2P. And maybe I just missed something in the emails and notifications. I'm not sure that my messages made it to the steering committee or not. Is that going to come out in a report later? Or I know that made it to the relay stations, but I'm not sure it made it to the steering committee. Is there a verification that'll come back to us on whether or not those messages were successful?
I've got the list. I'm still working on all the data. And yes, I can just publish that. Once it's all ready, I'll just publish it for everybody.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect. So I hadn't missed anything yet. It's just not been published.
Correct.
And Brad, just so you know, I got nothing, pretty much, maybe one message on Thursday night. Nothing against the operators who sent me a message. Nothing against the relay stations that were ready. Conditions of what I had here that night were just absolutely horrible. So don't make any judgments if the message didn't get all the way through.
Right. Got it.
Also, keep in mind that the instructions said to forward it to any steering committee member if you couldn't get it to that particular member. And so I think Andy and I both got a whole bunch of those that were destined for Gary and for Rory. So so those count.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you for everything you do. Do appreciate it.
It was interesting that right after the test, I ran a whisper study, and on 40 meters, it was definitely not close. Anybody west of the Mississippi probably was going to have a hard time getting me. But if you were on the East Coast, interestingly enough, that's the only signals that seem to make. I have no idea the reason for that propagation, but I think that's the reason why I couldn't, you couldn't get me.
So just as advancing up, David, thank you for making sure that they knew that the messages got through one way or the other. So when you're thinking about within the EDM, but for your local scenario, is a message doesn't necessarily should even go to one particular station, but to make sure it kind of resourced around, and that's part of what we're learning by using this feature of RAC. So you don't make it contingent on just that one operator getting it, that it has other ways to get it bounced around. Make it more of an internet kind of multiple connection capability rather than a straight linear line. There was another hand up. Frank, W4 Fox Lima X-ray?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Let's see. I got a big list here. But first off, I want to echo what we said before, David and Roy, and all you guys. Y'all really bust your butt. I understand. I know how much work it is, and y'all need to pat yourself on the back for good hard work. Appreciate it. I've learned a lot from you guys. So, actually, Jim, G, my almost neighbor, quite. I'm south of Rocky Mount. We are, our club is in the Red Cross in Roanoke. And they just kind of had a management change, and the guy didn't have to be a ham operator for the Red Cross. So the problem we ran into, what I think some of you guys have already ran into, was it, like you said, Roy, Virginia is absolutely horrible when it comes to ARRL and Aries. Aries is not happening up here. They keep trying to get it, but Aries is just, ARRL's version of it is not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I think they're confused with reality. I'm not going to get into the politics of it. There's a lot of people here totally against what they're trying to do. So most of what we do is ourselves. Speaking back to you again, Jim, what we've done before, they had a really big meeting there, like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 regions at the Red Cross building. Well, we were pretty good friends with everybody, so we set them up. They asked, could we set up some stuff? And so this was at the Broken Center, which is away from the Red Cross building. So we set up 2 stations inside the big meeting room, ran the antennas outside, and stuck them up where you could get to the Red Cross building about 7 or 8 miles away. And I had all these people looking, and they kind of was interested in walking around, and probably, I don't know, probably 50, 60 people that were all Red Cross oriented. They saw what we were doing, so we started sending messages to the guy that we left at the Red Cross building, which our equipment is set up there at Red Cross also. And so we were sending this stuff back and forth, all different types of messages. And they were saying, wow, this is so cool. So we sit there and talk after the meeting was over for about an hour because we showed them. Talking's one thing, but if you really show them, and that had a really big impact on them. And now they want us to get into the, how can I say, the Red Cross fold. Yeah, we got to get into politics. Before we worked, but they want us to join Red Cross and take their basic class, but they promised they wouldn't make us go empty trash cans and feed people and do all that. So, which was our biggest problem. I just want to operate the radio, the communications. I'm not going to do all the other stuff. That was the biggest complaint that everybody had. So, and they do this, by the way. Red Cross does it whatever region, whatever location wants to do it. They're not under any particular way to do anything with communications. So, anyway, that's just one thing. And I want to end this with, I missed last week, our last event. I was in the hospital, and much rather not been in there, but anyway, there's nothing to do with that now. And
what?
A quick question: when I downloaded the new Vera AC, and before I just had it set up for MCOM because I didn't want to mess with Vera AC before. But when I downloaded the new one, it had the MCOM already up in the drop down, top right hand corner. And I said, oh, cool. So I clicked on it, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it Mod 12 that gave you the setups for doing MCOM? Does anybody remember? I think it was 12. They list you the things, go click and unclick for Vera AC. Anyway, it was already done with a new download for Vera AC. So did anybody ran into that, or is that me just slightly losing my mind? Which probably that's probably possible too. But is it whatever his name is? Did they change that from the developer? Set it up for the way we wanted it? Does anybody know? I mean, does anybody remember if 12 was the correct settings for MCOM period? Because I had to redo a new computer. So, does anybody have any idea about that? Say yes, please. Okay, maybe not.
Okay, Frank.
Yep.
Since nobody's jumping in, what I'm going to ask you to do just to make sure, write it out and put it into the target stations. Make it a new post, and this way it allows people to think about it. Maybe at another time, go take a look at it and expand it out fully.
Sure.
Exactly what you had, what you currently have, and what you think the problem would be, or what is the problem that you
Well,
need.
I don't have a problem. That's the whole thing. I don't want to get out there at the event and say, okay, let's start doing this stuff, and it doesn't work. So, but I'll find out. I knew all you smart guys on there would do that. I'm sorry. No,
What
thanks.
are you apologizing for? We told you we wanted this to be very open-ended, and you went for it. That's cool.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Frank, I had also your situation that a lot of the settings were correct already as I started the brand new version of RAC.
Okay.
And I only had to change like 1 or 2 settings to for the exercise, but everything else was pretty much correct.
Yeah, okay, that's what I found, and I did follow the rest of the stuff through the exercise, so that's good.
Okay.
So now everybody knows. See,
There
this is
you
like,
go. Okay, we are officially done because we said 9 to 10. Most of the people who came on board, which was the number that we normally get participant exercises, is still here. So I'm willing to say we're recording this. And as I found out here, my recording one way is dropped, and the other one that I only recently turned on is continuing on. So we'll be able to have a good copy out of here no matter what to give you folks. And we'll also have the chat for anything that would be valuable, but nobody's put anything in. Since we're still here with all that I've been talking about, we're still waiting for, hey, I would like to see this done in the future, and you haven't done it.
Lloyd is waiting with a hands up for quite a while here. KF5ZHW.
Well then, Lloyd, go for it.
Good evening. I've enjoyed all this. I've been a Red Cross member for over 40 years, but that's not why. And I'm trying to set up for the weekend exercises they're trying to have with their radio rooms. And it proved to be interesting. In one case, the person that was in charge of the radio room, they were using his equipment. He took it home. In another one, I can't find out who has the keys to the door or who's allowed or who's even supposed to be in charge. But I have the person that was in charge before there was a higher change in membership. Let's forget about the Red Cross. I worked with MCOM, and I have been a target station for many years, and it's been a fun job. And the one thing about Aries that gets to me is all the stations that seem to shut off a few hours early, maybe come on line late, and it's very frustrating. It used to be that we always considered if you were a target station, that was an honor that was placed upon you. And if you didn't show up on time, you were no longer a target station. So you had to have an excuse if you missed it. But it was fun because we would compare our results and you could tell which parts of the country you were hitting with your systems. Often I was only contacted a station in Texas for many years. And I enjoyed it, even though it was like all the 12 hours or so at a time. But there's a little bit of competitiveness. That wasn't what they wanted to emphasize, but you can't help it if you're a contact station comparing how you did to another contact station, and they produced maps and everybody could see what stations were connecting with which stations, and it became fun. Well, what can I do to improve my equipment here to get out and do better? And so I found it to be a lot of fun, but I almost get the attitude that feeling, oh, well, okay, I'll fill a role. I don't really want to do it. Maybe we need to get more people in there that really want to do the different roles. But anyhow, that's all.
For those who don't know, and haven't dealt with Red Cross, Salvation Army did the same thing, and I've been involved with Salvation Army a number of times up in New Jersey on different levels and different perspectives, not just communication. That with organizations like that, the local people can rule differently than their neighbors from the same organization. It can get very personalized. So that would be some of the frustration that happens. The same is with those who dealt with EOC emergency managers. One can come in and you're all loving each other. The next one comes in and he hates you to the point where if you even try to talk to him, he's calling the sheriff to arrest you. No, not that bad, but you get the idea. Other hand up. Yeah, you don't have your name, KJ4TKA.
Yes, this is Charlie. Can you hear me?
Clearly.
Okay. All right. I'm down here in Florida, and we do a lot of testing. We have a monthly test with wind length and whatnot, but we're coordinated with the St. Johns County EOC, And there's been talk here a lot about shares and moving all their communication to shares.
Yep.
I'm not familiar with it. Is there direct messaging involved in shares?
First, understands what shares is. I'm a shares operator. Understanding what shares is first, it is a Department of Homeland Security oversight through CISA. And in that, through the ESF2 functionality, it's about communication. It is for public service sector communication, which includes National Guard, because that's not Department of Defense directly. They do report to each state governor. And it is for their communication systems. It does not have the same level of organizational structure that you might expect. Some government agencies are very involved with it, some aren't. But it's something that to get involved in, you have to be sponsored as an amateur radio operator to receive a shares license. With that, you operate on outside of amateur radio band. Don't have the same kind of limitation, but you are directly under the management of whoever sponsored you for that license. There are different ways that the licenses work. It's not really to an operator, it's to a location, which may or may not be your home. Because the way I'm associated with shares, I get it to be my home station. If I did it through my emergency management, as a result of my Aries relationship with them, then I would possibly get a different shares license, but the address would be their EOC. Now I could operate it from here, but it's under their management. It's not the same, and it is clearly not amateur radio at all. And more states are going towards it because that means that CISA will be then providing levels of support and functionality for them where it's more government controlled, where if it's been relying more upon us, we're volunteers and they can't control us one little bit and they can't influence us because they can't pay us. So it has a completely different mindset, a different structure, and they don't really have a lot, I'll call on the ground kind of training, like hardly any. And there are a bunch of us that are out there saying, hey, no, how about a little more something other than having frequencies? For those of us who are on ALE, could we do something more rather than just pinging each other? Like know how to contact each other. So it's different, but understand that is a government controlled process 100%. In addition, with WinLink, that is Steve Waterman in the WinLink community. That is the total manager from the WinLink perspective. And you cannot just get an RMS station, let's say. I'm all set to go for it, but my sponsor is not in the ability to give me that license to do an RMS sysop station. So within WinLink, there's that extra layer with Steve Waterman, and he operates it as if it's a full government operation because all that he does with WinLink from the sheriff's perspective is that. I know I said a lot more probably than what you were asking.
Well, what's happening down here are the county EOCs are getting the license.
Okay.
And then they are using the ham operators to run the SARES, and they're asking our EOC to do the same thing.
Okay, that's normal.
Okay. Yeah, and do they use WinLink on the shares?
But that's what I was explaining with Steve Ward. They do have WinLink, absolutely 100%. And what's starting to happen now, it used to be you had to have a Pactor 3 or a Pactor 4 TNC.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds of dollars at the cheap end. If you bought it brand new and you get the better ones, you're going up to $1,500. There are ways to get grants. EOC buys it for you. But
what they're telling us that they're now using VAR HF.
That's what I'm about to get, because the VAR modem set, the reason why they didn't allow it on shares, even though it has a 256-bit encryption capability, was because the software was not controlled. Because of the stability of WinLink with shares, that the developer agreed to securely send the VARA download program programs and store it on the WinLink server.
Okay.
That way, nobody could go in there and hack the software before it got downloaded.
Okay. All right.
So that's why they're starting to do it, but not everybody there has it yet. And I don't know the level of popularity because I can't get my own RMS station running, but it's becoming more popular, and that will allow the easier expansion of an amateur radio operator with his equipment even. And the EOC gives him a little stipend because
Yeah.
it shares, not amateur radio at that point, to
Yeah.
help cover costs, or they buy one, but they don't have to get that expensive box that's equal in cost to an entire radio station minus the antenna.
Okay. All right. You've been a big help. Thank you.
Good. Glad I was. Anything else? Remember, ideas. Because otherwise, you could live with what David and the team comes up with. We're giving you the opportunity, and we want you to do it.
I was just going to throw in something real quick. Lloyd was making comments before this last one, and he was really asking about we need new members, and we need new members that are willing to participate and going to be good target stations. Believe us, the steering committee, we know how frustrating it's been the last year and a half or so with exercises where half of the target stations weren't even there and never told us that they were not going to be there. And we've talked about it for a long time, and we finally dealt with it. So anybody who has not done an exercise in any way in the last year and a half was removed from target station status. They are field stations. They can participate as field stations, but they cannot be a target station. But that's left us with 90-something members and approximately 35 to 40 tops active members that are doing anything when it comes to exercises. So if you know people that you think would fit into this organization and would enjoy participating, please tell them and have them come to our website, see what it's all about. You know, they do need to be committed to training. Our new members are required to do the first 21 or 22 modules, just like all of us were, and because that's what gets them up to snuff. And the other point I want to make is that in the last 2 or 3 exercises, we've used volunteers for quite a while for target stations for these special exercises. But the last 2, I have pleaded with the membership to please volunteer. We have some great volunteers. They're fantastic, but we would like to see some new people volunteer also. In the last 2 exercises, we haven't had any new people come forward. We sure appreciate the ones that have been doing it all along, and they've done a great job. But you know, we'd like to get somebody else into that role. So any of you interested in it, I mean, the next time one comes around, please volunteer. It's just like being a target station in our old exercises. There's really no difference to it. So that's about all I have to say. And I think we had a couple more with their hands up.
And David, just one quick follow-up. The quality of the target stations, because of the people who are no longer being active, has also risen. That's making the exercises going well. So that's why we're looking for more to step up, because as a group, you've all have a great quality of the type of operation you've been doing. Thank you. Who I believe it'll be KJ4TKA again. Go ahead.
No, I hit the button twice. I'm sorry.
Well, hit it a third time.
No. Good work.
KA0Z Sierra.
Alpha Zulu Sierra.
Well, then go ahead.
Okay. Just making sure. And I had to jump out for a few minutes right at 10 o'clock, but I'm back in case it's been covered. But a couple of things as far as getting more people involved. We have a local digital net that primarily focuses on FL Digi modes. And what I did, mostly during the lockdowns, but they said it was one of they had more net participation, people checking in than they usually do. I actually did a step-by-step. This is what WinLink is. This is how you get the software. This is how you set it up. This is what a peer-to-peer is. This is what a mail station is. about 8 weeks worth of it, and just basically sent those as ICS 213 messages through FL Digi, and it also I've got on our District 3 Ohio Areas website, so people can go look at it. And we pulled a few people in on that. Just it gave the nets, two of them, the Montgomery and Greene County nets here locally, which you're probably familiar with if you've been to Hamvention. Montgomery County was the old site, Greene County is the new one. It pulled some new folks in, I think, and it gave the nets something besides the standard. Okay, check in. Anybody have any traffic? No, thank you, bye.
Oh,
and I think so. Yeah, so it gave us some extra traffic. The hardest part for us is our primary purpose of my EOC is our primary purpose for our MCOM team, as it's called here, and they're specifically EMA volunteers. They're all Aries members, but they're not Aries, if you know what I'm saying. There is our main goal is to be able to communicate with the state EOC up north of Columbus, out of Dayton, which we can do MVIS. Fine, I've demonstrated that multiple times, but they moved to EOC, and we no longer have an HF station. So what we've done, we got one of our members who lives literally line of sight of our new location, and we just go Vera FM peer-to-peer to him. He gets on HF. The biggest pushback from the folks up at the state, the amateurs up there, was we're busy up here if there's a net. We don't have time to sit here and monitor a WinLink station. And it's obvious they were used to FL Digi and the various other old digital modes, and we keep trying to tell them, that's the beauty. You don't have to monitor it. You just go look at it once in a while. We finally did, as I used my old background I used to work at the EMA as a emergency operations officer. And the way our protocol with the state was, is we set requests up. We would call them, tell them the request is coming, give them the basics, and then we'd use WebEOC to send up the request. So during the eclipse, we did a full-up exercise plus a full activation during the solar eclipse in April. And one thing we did was we exercised every mode of peer-to-peer we could with the state. And we also had a direct link to them over VHF voice because we have a linked repeater linked via RF, not internet, between here and Columbus. So I just adopted the state standard protocol, and I told them this, we're going to do the same way WebEOC. We sent you a WinLink message. You've got it holding. Here's what it's about, and I'll go get it. And what do you know? They could actually find their WinLink email box. So sometimes you just kind of push the agent. Sometimes it's just knowing the players and knowing the procedures of the quote-unquote professional side. And if you're emulating their procedures, it's easier to get. Sometimes the amateurs kind of go along with that. So, for what it's worth.
Thank you. Yes. Anything that you guys have gone through, I forget who has said it. No, what you've gone through. I just wanted to give the higher level view of kind of stuff. David and then Gary really filled it in nicely. But if you notice, it's your effort. That's what I meant by the salesmanship. It's your effort continually working with him to get that resistance worn down. Just think of what you do when a salesman shows up at your door. How do they get into your house without a gun? For those guys who has their hands up, if you could click your hands so I know that you no longer want to say anything, that would be Mike and ending in Kilo Alpha. I haven't yet learned how to take your hands down.
Oh, that's all right. I did actually purposely put my hand up. This is Mike. So
go for it, Mike.
So I'm the emergency manager for my county. I'm the director. And one of the things is I'm also very linked in and connected in with the Minnesota State Communications Unit. So we have regions in our state. We're the central region, and of course the most active besides the metro region in deployments and things like that. But one of the things is I would recommend is Aries leadership, the SEC, DECs need to get in contact and start that communication with the state SWICs. The state SWIC is a statewide interoperable communications who actually works with a lot of the communes. If the state has the commu, works with them, and they can start getting that inroad. I'm an OXC, besides a COM-T, and fill in as a COM-L a lot of times also. But the important piece is the fact that I try to include the ARES groups as an OXC because you're a resource. You're a needed resource. By knowing these skills and letting everybody understand that you have these skills that we need, because in public safety, there's not enough bodies sometimes to fill all the needs of handling communication traffic. So it's one of those things. This is a skill that if to point out to them that learning this skill and here is what we can provide you to support you. A lot of times that'll go a long ways to get you included in, and we do invite ARES members to participate in our statewide communications exercise that actually goes for 4 days. So there's a lot of incentive there and a lot of learning going on.
I'm going to second that with the caveat, as I've been learning in Virginia, that yes, I know who the SWIC is, and I even got to be put on his mailing list from that. And then I attended totally non-participatory with all the severe weather we got, but when he had his Zoom calls to make sure everybody involved from the ESF2 perspective was there. So it was very informative in that respect. But not every SWIC really cares about the kind of things that we do, at whatever level we're doing it at. Even with shares, Auxcom, which I can't stand because there's 3 ways that Auxcom gets assigned. So when I'm saying Auxcom right now is the banner under CISA, and certainly amateur radio. It depends very much upon the people who are in charge at those very levels. In my state, Virginia, Jack Smith is a FEMA field level officer. I forget what level, but he has been diligent on getting a strong relationship with the SWIC. We just got a new MOU with the state's Department of Emergency Management, where if we get deployed by their request, we're under their insurance program like an employee. Major change that can certainly help if ever needed. But that's also very state dependent. Find out what the relationship with the SWIC is, how open they are to it. And since they work under the governor's office, politics gets involved very heavily. So just be aware. If it's not really strong, it's very tough to get it going. It has to be done at very senior levels within the amateur radio community, whether it's official ARRL or just something else different. But it has to be at a state level that before they'll even think about talking to you. And that's just normal, basic state level politics. Local politics, you have to be involved in the local community. It's just the general way it works. But with that caveat, yes, it's an excellent point to also where you can is to get the SWIC involved. Just so people know, one person had asked, he wanted to know more about post office. So I posted a link from the Wave Talkers group who had done an excellent presentation about what post office WinLink is about. And somebody put in before they left, where did it go? So this might spark an idea for discussion from those who are still here. Person that left, Rob Victor Echo 3 Romeo X-Ray Hotel. Thanks for the opportunity. I would suggest VAR AC chat evening on an EDM specific frequency. That's what we would always do, certainly. Just to get familiar with VAR AC. Then he let us know that he had to go. So it's an idea. Anybody have any thoughts of anything like that in addition to just saying thumbs up to that idea?
Well, that would be
It's
a
in the
good
chat
way
room
to.
if you want to read it.
That'd be a good way to exercise and figure out how the QSY, whether it would work or not for us or not.
Okay. And
So
okay.
how often do you want to do it? Weekly, monthly?
I like the monthly pace. Even if it's 2 days and it kind of spreads out, but it kind of gives everybody a little bit of opportunity to do something a little bit different. But
Okay.
it's tough for some to dedicate that amount of time. But I think you guys have been doing a good job. I know when we were first starting up, it was weekly, and we're pushing it pretty good. But it also helped weed out the dedication of this group. So there's a good side to that.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a painful process, but in the end, exactly. We did weed out a lot of people who really weren't serious,
And
which is
as I
okay. But we've come down with a pretty good core group.
Yep.
Once
I
a
would
month
go with
sounds.
I would
Once a
go
month
monthly
sounds.
as well.
All right, that sounds good. All right.
Yeah, I've already got weekly. I've already got these guys in Virginia I've got to talk to every week.
Yeah, I know. I do the
Hey,
same
hey,
thing.
hey.
We all do.
Plus West Virginia, North Texas, I forget who else.
Remember, it's not just Virginia; it's the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Oh, what's common about it?
Yes, I learned that when I moved down here 7.5 years ago. Okay, any other ideas, thoughts? I should have started off with questions, comments, queries, and complaints. Is there anything you don't want us to be doing?
Giving up.
Good answer.
I like that.
Good answer. Yeah.
However, the fact you're still here says we're all in agreement. Serious. Is there anything you're saying? But when you do that, it kind of.
I'll put in a plug. The steering committee really needs some help. We need help with exercise ideas. We need help with proofing exercises, writing the initial parts of the exercises. My wife Meg just yelled over at me, yes, because she's getting tired of proofing and testing exercises. Every single exercise she not only proofs but tests them thoroughly, and she's getting tired of it. So we really could use some help with anybody that's interested in having ideas about some sort of exercise. Write it down, throw it at us. We'll have you write the rough draft of it, and that I can refine it if you're not comfortable writing everything and testing everything, crossing out all the T's. Don't worry about it. We can refine it to the point where it's ready
Yep.
for a publication.
If you just spitball an idea at us, it's an idea that can be worked on. And I'll give you guys just an extra little something thought. And David, thank you for bringing that up. See if you have any team member that maybe they don't want to do EDM regularly, but you want to do something to help them grow. Have them, let's say you come up with an idea and you just do a rough draft, or David sends out an initial draft of an exercise and asking for people to review, to make comments and such. If you have somebody you're trying to develop within your group, give them that and say, so tell me, what do you think about that? What do you see that's good? What's bad? Forget grammar issues. Anybody can catch grammar issues. Grammarly catches grammar issues, but just for content. And you can even use that as a development tool, part of that 4Ps kind of thing, ways to make it different and exciting for them. Somebody that needs guidance, but has a desire to actually be guided. That's a different something you can do for them. Let me know just what you think about it. They don't even have to know what EDM is about. They just come at it kind of blind. And sometimes that's better. It's a totally objective view, but at least within a common subject matter. Amateur radio. Give it to them. You could also use it as a training development tool for people in your group. But yes, we are going to be looking more for other members' involvement. And because we've gone through, as I mentioned, some steering committee members, and we are a little depleted right now in numbers of what we've been accustomed to. And so until such time as that can get up, we're going to be looking for group effort on this, as it always should be anyway, because you guys are all leaders in your own right, and we can tell that. So even if you say for 1/4 of the year, I'll give you 3 months of my time. We'll take it. You don't have to commit. You'll always do it. You can say, okay, for odd number of months, whatever works for you. So it is now 10:32. Number one, again, thank you. There are about 20 of us that are here, so I have to account for the automatic recorders going on. Anything else?
I have something.
I figured because suddenly we can see you.
My question is along the line of this Zoom meeting. When I hit my Zoom link, I got something called Zoom Workplace, which I've never seen before. And when I signed in, the heading said Rory Griffin, W4RJG, Virginia's personal meeting room.
Yep.
And I've noticed that I'm guessing, but it looks like every one of us that's in the personal room, we don't have the hand. And in the link that was mentioned, which was the heart, that's just something that notifies you that something's going on. And I've been afraid to touch this for fear of cutting you off somehow. Was this intentional, that this is your personal meeting room?
Yes, because I use this link everywhere.
Okay, no, it's just I've never seen it before. Okay, getting specific.
Okay, one, to address leaving, the only way you can get disconnected outside of turning off your computer or such, lower right-hand button, end.
I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about hijacking it from you.
No, you cannot hijack this from me. Trust me. Zoom is extremely professional, well designed. I even forgot to make steering committee members co-hosts so they could do whatever they wanted as well. No, you cannot hijack, so don't worry about that. You can't break this. You can't ruin it. So don't worry about that, Russell.
Okay, this question is probably aimed more at David, I guess, but I'll ask it in general. On the last exercise, we were introduced to the relay function. And one of the things that bothered me about the relay function was you really didn't know whether it went beyond the relay. And I found out because David bothered to send me all the links, and I had sent to everybody. I had probably the best propagation I ever had because within the first 20 minutes, I had hit the West Coast. I had California, Washington. I think Oklahoma was in there. All the faraway points I hit. But what I decided to do was, I think you're familiar with the Florida WinLink net. And on occasion, they will have someone who's actually running VAR AC. So I used Pathfinder for the relay, and I relayed to the station that I could never get a hold of using a legitimate reply. But that person never received my relay, which makes me wonder, is the relay on the receiving end of the relay, is that an automatic forward, or is that something that person specifically has to do, an action on their part?
You want me to take that?
Please.
Yeah, if you know the answer, it's probably easier, David.
Yeah, you do have to take action, and to make sure. Now on VAR app, if you're talking about it, you're sending it to the relay station. It's automatic that it knows it's going to go to, say, me as one of the steering committee members, but it's still up to either the relay station or myself to connect to the station to get it. In the case of VARA, peer-to-peer, it's a totally manual situation. You know, in this exercise, we had it set up so people would hopefully get an acknowledgement, but we admitted that, you know, the acknowledgement, it didn't mean, if you didn't get an acknowledgement, it didn't necessarily mean that the SC station didn't get it, because, you know, every station was really overloaded. In the case of Rory, you know, he he was just impossible to get. Gary was almost impossible to get. But I can say that of all the messages that I received and Andy received, we did send acknowledgments to the relay stations both nights. Now, how many of those wound up actually getting back to all of you? I don't know, because in the processing of all the data, we didn't even look at that. We didn't even ask for that. We're interested in what got to us, and the other was gravy. So does that answer your question, Russell?
It does, but it also brings up the thought that in a time of chaos, to me, that means the relay would never really work, because you don't know who's out there. And once you identify somebody, do they have the skill to actually do a relay? Just because they're on VARAC. So I'm a little questionable in my mind about the real value of the relay, only from the standpoint that most people are uneducated about it.
I would look at it this way. In any actual MCOM situation, if you're using VARA peer-to-peer, then you're sending MCOM messages to somebody, and that somebody that gets that message has to do something with it. You know, it has to be forwarded, whatever it takes. If you have internet, you pass it on internet. If you have sideband HF, you get on sideband HF and pass it, or you try to pass it on packet, or you hop in the car or have a courier hop in the car and drive it to your local EOC. In an MCOM environment with peer-to-peer, it's going to stop where you send it unless that person takes action. You know, in our case in Georgia, in Helene, we were passing that information to Oxcom, actually at the Georgia headquarters. But yeah, you know, it's less than optimum, certainly, if you don't know. And with RMS stations, that acknowledgement's easy to do, but with peer-to-peer, it's not so easy, and with VARAC, it's not so easy.
Russell, keep in mind, one, that the way EDM is designed is, I'm going to go back to PACE, no primary, no auxiliary, maybe some level of contingency, but it's really not that solid because it doesn't have internet, and you're probably more just emergency type communication. To counter what you're talking about and doing very similar to what David did so excellently is when you receive the relay, this would have to be written into the part of the EOP related to when you're doing this emergency, all else fails type communication is, yes, if you're going to do a relay because you can't get to station C, so you're going to have station B get to station C, because you already kind of know that through regular testing of the system, is that station C has to send back to relay to you that, yes, he got it. But you can't assume that he didn't. You can't assume he did. You just have to go forward that you did what you could and wait until things get better or find another way to try and get to him to see. But you have to get that designed into it, like David's exercise, to make sure there is a feed forward feedback mechanism with a relay in between, because all the other modes that we are promoting have positive message delivered, except for broadcast. But even then, your system says, I put it out there, but we know that does not have any feedback. But for the VARA, there's a definitive feedback that either the message was delivered or it wasn't. Yes or no. VAR-AC is not designed, at this point in time anyway, to provide that, but it's a much simpler by design system. It doesn't have that guaranteed thing for the relay. That is way beyond what the strength of VAR-AC is, that when you do a keyboard texting, you're using VARA, so you know it got there or it didn't. This is an extension with weaknesses, but if you're going to design it for an MCOM scenario, put in things to cover that weakness. So it would be, yes, the receiving station that is the final destination must send an acknowledgement back if it's done through a relay, because otherwise no one's going to know what happened. At least the relay station will get it, even if it can't get back directly. But somebody has it on record that, yes, he got it. The other thing is, and it'll be part of some of the other things I do, is don't forget with all the stuff that you're doing, keep it all in your ICS 214. I should have said this earlier. It popped in my head, but it didn't come out. Is you want to keep track with all this ICS 214. There is no record in VAR AC unless you go digging through the logs what happened. It doesn't get stored legitimately any place else. If you do VAR P2P, it does not get stored legitimately up in the WinLink system. If you do RMS, you have that, you can print out the log. So you have to make sure that you have an ICS 214 showing what you're doing, especially if you're in a real official incident. So if somebody questions you a year later, you can say, at this time, I sent this message to that person with this basic subject matter. Just as a little caveat. But, go.
No, I say it's a good caveat. Now,
Anything
it's
else,
not
Dave,
the
that
same.
you
It's just
need
the
to adjust?
uncertainty of it. It seems like you could, especially if you've got an important message, you could waste a lot of time trying to get it done.
Yes, absolutely. But remember, you're in emergency mode. So
Oh, yeah.
things aren't going to go smoothly anyway. David, do you need to adjust anything I said?
No, that was good.
Okay.
Subject's done.
While I think of it, Frank, FLX, send me an email. We'll chat offline tomorrow, maybe, or something when you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
You're in my neighboring district.
That's right.
Anybody else? Comments, questions, queries, or complaints?
This is Randy, KA0AZS. And I'm thinking it might have been an artificial of the extra, and I'm maybe confusing the peer-to-peer with the VAR AC, but I believe what the instructions were, you wanted us to jump to two different bands on the VAR AC to try two different connections. And in an actual emergency, I think it might be better if once you got a good connection with somebody, you hang there, and it's not as likely you would miss an ACK coming back then through that relay or any of the other stations, because you're broadcasting, you're out there, the other stations see you there, they tell you I've got traffic for you, but if I'm off on 40 meters and I did this on 30, I'll never see it.
No, that wasn't part of the exercise instructions at all.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking, was it the peer-to-peer then? Or maybe they just wanted to try multiple.
Neither one of them were that way.
Then never mind, I disregard, I misremembered. I was not feeling well that night anyway.
But Randy, as David loves to point out to me, that when he tries to get to me on WinLink Wednesday as an NCS, that some people I can get and some people I can't, because depending upon the band and the time of day, as to if you're closer, we're not really going to get to each other.
Right.
So you may need to actually have two bands going concurrently because it's such a large scale event and the coordination depending upon your level of responsibility. I just want to make it more confusing for you.
Okay, well, like in that situation, we'd have two HF stations here, and we'd be talking to each other on VHF. And so, you know, my guy who handles our HF for our EMA, he would then call me up and go, "Hey, I got a message for you here. I'm going to send over on the Vera side on the FM." So, you know, that might be a workaround for that then.
I never thought HF when I was MCOM up in New York and New Jersey, New York City, because everything was so close. There were like so many repeaters, and the one 30 Rock, having nothing to do with the TV show, just had awesome coverage, even in Manhattan with the buildings, because he was so high up, he was able to come down into the canyons as opposed to try and get through the canyons of all the metal. We're here in New Jersey, other than the local, no, I can't think of VHF at all. I cannot get to any major city except for certain repeaters, and I can't always count on them. I have to think more HF. So that's why I mention these kind of things, because it's depending upon the need, geographic region, and how widespread is your impact of your bad thing. If you're in a tornado alley kind of an area, you have to assume it's not just the tornado itself, but the severe damage by severe weather storms, like the kind that you really need Skywarn training on, kind of severity.
Like we had here in 19.
Okay. So you have a very large, wide area to be covering, so you need to possibly create a mix. That's local for you. Me, VHF, my only concern that I have is using a DMR repeater to contact other hospitals to get a mutual aid, to get a DMR operator with a handheld that he can get to his DMR repeater by his hospital because I got a major dump here on my railroad line, and we had a major evacuation, people hurt or whatever, and I have to coordinate getting people to other hospitals. The only time I'd be thinking VHF, and actually I'm using the internet. If my internet's down, I mean the repeater can keep on going on emergency power, but I'm not going to even have internet. Then I've got to have the mutual aid things that I'm now setting up in the state, at least in my district, just for that purpose, just to have means to no matter. It's a mix of what you want, but you can actually have two different bands going on HF because of some are for local and some are for further, without anybody having to do a special NVIS antenna.
Yeah.
Okay, you
Roy,
go ahead.
quick remark. We are, or I have been, I'm really heavy involved with Skywarn, and I do the net and all that, but I'm good friends with all these guys in Blacksburg, and I've been working for a year here with Lincoln there to save my life, and they kind of want to do it, but another person, which I'll discuss with you tomorrow, that I don't want, I'm not going to say his name because he's down from y'all's part of the country, saying this, anyway, kind of working against me. But, this place up in Windsor, Windley would be perfect for any weather bureau. I mean, that's just fantastic. All the people, the spotters and the reporting stations and stuff, just, it's a fantastic thing to use. And they're starting to use it, just not here. So, but I'll talk to you more about that.
Okay, but thank you. I'm going to be saying this just so I get it into my transcription, so I get it as an action item for me to follow up on. But to talk to Phil Heisel, who's also a ham radio operator, if I remember correctly,
I know you.
what we can do to start re-elevating the Skywarn network statewide, or at least that particular weather station in Blacksburg, which, by the way, for those of you who don't know, they're highly associated with Virginia Tech, which is a really great technical college.
Yeah.
But that, and maybe the other national weather services within the state, just because of the weather we've been getting this particular winter, could be heightening up the need that we really should have a statewide network capable system one way or the other.
Sure.
So
It would be hard.
that becomes a to-do for me to do because I don't have enough to do.
Okay.
Meg is a graduate of Virginia Tech, and she just said, "Go Hokies."
Amen. Yes. And they have a gorgeous campus. We went up there for the open house, and we went through the campus. I mean, I'm used to Princeton. It's a very nice campus. Virginia Tech is better looking. Oh, my stars, it is so pretty. And it wasn't even with the pretty snowfall. That was with bare trees. These were gone. And it also then exposed the building. What a gorgeous campus. It really is. And yes, go Hope. Anything else, gentlemen? We're down to about 15 of us. And we've been here for close to 2 hours. I don't want to hold anybody up, but I don't want to dismiss anybody wanting to add to the content of the conversation.
One more time, it's Jim, KV4JM. Thank you guys again. And Rory and David, we had earlier conversations. Don't hesitate to ping me if I can assist.
Okay, you are now top of the list. Thank you. By the way,
if I can assist.
You're the only one on the list right now, so thank you. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Gentlemen, thank you all. Steering committee, if you could stay.
Anyway.
We'll have a quick wrap up. Thank you all for staying all the way this time and all the input and everything else. Have a great night.